welcome to another episode of 5 Minutes in the Shed. As normal, we're in quarantine, so I'm getting a little bit more done than I normally would. So, before I put the crank together on this bike, what I've done is I've loosely bolted the crankcases together because at the moment they're light. There's no weight to them, and I can lift them in and out of the bike easy. I don't want to scratch my powder coating. So, crankcases are loosely bolted together. I've put them together for one reason really, and that is to have a look at the engine mounting. When we took it apart, I mentioned that the engine mountings were pretty shocking and we could do a bit better than that. So what I've done is I've put it in. This is what the engine mountings look like now. And this is what they look like now I've marked them up, and this is what I want to make them look like when I've made them a bit nicer and fettled them up a little bit. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. Right then, so here's one of the engine plates all marked up how I want it to look. First thing I need to do is hacksaw a load of the big bits off before I do the finish cuts. Right then, so after getting through a couple of hacksaw blades and a lot of elbow grease, I've cut off most of the big chunks from one side of the engine mount there. So I'm just left with like a sliver of aluminium. Now hacksaw cut's awful, right? So yeah, really rough. So what I want to do is run this end mill down the side of it. Now I haven't got a milling machine, right? So I'm using my 1960s Start-Right pillar drill, and I'm using an end mill in the chuck there, and I've got this work table which came from eBay, which is like a very cheap Chinese one. It's a little bit rickety, but it's okay. We're having problems clamping the workpiece because I haven't got a toolmaker's clamp that's big enough, so I'm using this like pretty small toolmaker's clamp which is bolted to the table, and then I've got a toolmaker's clamp grabbed in it which is holding the workpiece, and hopefully it'll be solid enough not to vibrate while I'm cutting it. So yeah, this is my makeshift milling machine, and we'll see how it goes. Right, so there's the cut I've just done. As you can see, follows the pencil mark beautifully. We take it around here. It's actually doing quite a nice finish on the. It's a bit. I mean, it's not like I've got a nice CNC miller and I've managed to mill a perfect edge off it, but it's a nice machined straight finish, which is lovely. So now what I need to do is reposition my workpiece so I can do this cut. So if you look at it, that's not square to the travel on this part of the bed, right? So what I need to do is adjust this, and then I have to square that up to what's on my bed so I know which way the cutter's going to run, and then I'll do the second cut. So yeah, actually works quite well. Right, so I'm slowly getting there, cutting my piece of aluminium. Some more complicated cuts to do with these kind of internal curves that I want to put on it. So I've got a lot more work to do on that. But I'll come back to you and give you an update. In the meantime, I filmed a little bit of work on my transmission. So here, for your viewing pleasure, is a bit of transmission work. Right, just thought I'd film changing the gear indicator plate on the transmission. As you can see, this one's just gone down to brass. There was nothing left of it anyway, and when it got soda blasted, it took the rest of it off. So I'm going to change this for a proper one, and I've got the needle so it will point to which gear it's in. Now, these little rivets that hold it on are like a turn rivet. Now, usually you can get it out with a pair of side cutters. Alright, so try and grab the side of the rivet. I can't get that one. This one, I've managed to turn a little bit. Alright, so now that's out a little bit, I can get a normal pair of pliers and just turn the pin out like that. It's going to be way too small to see on the camera, but that's what it looks like. So I've got one out, but the other one I can't get the side cutters to do the job. So I'm going to cut a slot in it with a little pretend Dremel, with a little grinding disc, and then I can put a screwdriver in it. That's my plan anyway. Why isn't that working? Because it's not plugged in. Right. Let's see if that's enough. Not quite. What I don't want to do is grind too much of it away and then I can't get it out anyway. So, try a bit more. When you're using one of these tiny grinding discs, they've got a real bad habit of exploding, right? So sort of go side on so they explode that way, and wear a pair of bins as well. Nasty little things. Right, let's see if that will come out. Ah, damn it. Won't come out. Let's try the side cutters again. That's not going very well at all. I think what I might have to end up doing is drilling that out and drilling it out completely. So see if we take that off, because that's buggered anyway, right? We can get this out of the way. It's going to give me a bit more room on the head of that rivet. Right. I might even get on there with a proper pair of pliers. Maybe not. Oh no, I think it's coming. Yes, there we go. Success. Right, brilliant. So I'll give that a clean under there. Hasn't got that lovely soda blast finish now, which is a shame. But when the new one's on, you won't know, so it doesn't matter. Right, so it's all nice. Now I can put the new one on it. I'll get the new one. Where is it? The new one is here. And if you can see that on the camera, there we go. That's the new one. So that's going to go on there like that. And I've got a new pivot pin which goes in, and then that little needle in there will point the way and tell you what gear you're in. You can't see it when you're riding, obviously, because it's down by your foot, but it doesn't matter, it's nice to have. So I'll get that put on when I get a minute. Got the new little rivets in there. All you got to do is just line them up with the holes and just give them a little tap in, and they kind of screw themselves in. So, bit of transmission done. I also put the bearing in it, and the circlip in there. I'll film putting some bearings in some other stuff. I was just doing this when I had a bit of spare time. So yeah, progress. Right, so got my nice gear selector plate on. Now, what happens with this is the kind of end of the gearbox. Right, this is the gearbox selector, which goes to these little selector arms here, and these little selector arms run in these cam plates, and that moves it up and down the gears. All right. And then this one, your gear lever flicks it backwards and forwards. So that sits in there and pivots like this on this pin. Now, this pin's knackered at the top, which means I can't get my little needle on to indicate the gear. So I bought a new one. Now, the new one is a bit different. If you can see that. The hole's in the same place, and the top's in the same place. We've got a little groove around the bottom there. I don't know why it would have that groove. I have no idea. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. When I took this off, it had in it, bear with me 1 second, because I have totally lost it. No, found it. When I took this off, this pin was in this hole, and it had in it this nail, right? And that nail had been put in and bent round. So on this pin, this 1/8 of an inch hole should line up with that 1/8 of an inch hole, and it should be solid. But it wasn't. It rattled around. Still worked, but it just rattled around. So I've actually got a proper stainless steel 1/8 of an inch split pin, which is supposed to go in there. Assuming it fits. Which is supposed to go in there as a good fit, and then it won't rattle. So I've got the old crappy one with the knackered end and the nail, and I've got rid of those, and I've got the proper stuff to do it now. So this sits on the engine this way, this goes in that way, so it has to come in. Let's get it in the right place, like that. Is that the right way up? It's not the right way up. Can't be. It's got to be that way up. Yeah, that way up. So that goes in there like that. So this can pivot like that. And this goes through the top. So, get it in there. Get it in there. And that's got to push down. to there until I can find that hole. There's my hole. So then, split pin goes through there. Will do when I get the holes lined up. It was easier with a nail, I guess. Oh, nice and firm in the hole, and that spins like that. Great. Brill. So I'll drive that all the way through and lock it all off in a bit. But that's going to look so much nicer than it did before, especially when it's got the little needle on it. So, gearbox outer cover ready to go on.